Good evening and welcome to Girl Talk After Dark. I am your host, Sandy Best Life Jones, and I am, first of all, absolutely delighted to be here with you tonight, but even more so delighted to have my guest with me tonight. And I'm going to talk about her in just a moment. She is here. I see her in the green room, and we're going to bring her out momentarily. But before we do anything, I have to tell you what's going on with my Facebook page. So, yesterday, I went to go into StreamYard to get everything set up for tonight's show, and I was not able to access my Facebook page. It has been restricted, suspended actually by Facebook. I'm not exactly sure why, but they did ask me to send a selfie. So I'm thinking that they need to verify who I am. In any case, I'm not able to post on Facebook tonight. And so that's why our show is on YouTube. So I need you to do me a big, big favor and make sure that you share tonight's episode with your networks so that people are not looking for me on Facebook. They know that I am on YouTube tonight. And hopefully we'll have this situation rectified in a day or so. I don't think it'll drag out much longer than that. But it's all right because we still own and Felicia is here and we're going to go ahead and do what we do best. All right. So before I bring Felicia out, I want to introduce her properly because her credentials precede her. When she walks in the door, her credentials go first. So I want to make sure that you know who she is, what she does, and then when she comes out, we're going to ask her, why does she do it? So Felicia Be Well Kadima stands at the intersection of finance and well-being, embodying a visionary force in the realms of lifestyle and financial wellness. As the founder and guiding spirit behind True Vine Living and Felicia Be Well, she has curated spaces where women glean transformative insights and life experiences to thrive. With a career spanning over 25 years, Felicia currently holds the esteemed position of Vice President for a financial institution. Armed with a business finance degree and an MBA, she has traversed pivotal roles in consumer banking, wealth management, and corporate and commercial banking, specializing in assisting high net worth individuals with privately held companies. Felicia's professional journey has provided her with unique insights into the intricate dynamics of wealth accumulation, maintenance, and loss. Her commitment to fostering financial well being extends well beyond boardrooms to the heart of communities. And Felicia Be Well is here. I'm going to bring her out. There she
Hi,
is.
Sandy. Let me make
Hi,
sure.
Felicia.
Hi. Let me make sure my volume is all the way up. Can you hear me
Okay.
okay?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that introduction.
You're welcome. And welcome to Girl Talk After Dark.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. What happens at Girl Talk After Dark?
Listen, we over here doing the transformation work that we need to do so that we can live our very best lives in a
Yes.
holistic way. So, body, mind, spirit, you name it, we want to be the best version of ourselves that we could possibly be, which is
Right.
why tonight's show is so important because um, it's important for us as women to position ourselves to have the freedom to do what it is that we want to do. We all know
Mhm.
that we have things that we have to do, but we also need to be able to do things that we want to do. And I
Right.
believe, and I know that you do too, that money is the key to freedom. And so when you can
It's
get
a tool.
right,
Mhm.
when you can get your finances in order in a way that allows you to have the freedom to do some of the things that you want to do, I think
Mhm.
that's a good thing because we all need a break sometimes from the 9 to 5. And being able to do that or having ourselves positioned in a way to be able to do that is important. What do you say?
Right, right. No, I definitely agree with that. And
Mhm.
it's so fascinating. And I love your platform, Sandy,
Mhm.
that it's
Thank you.
all about transformation and
Yeah.
helping women live their best lives. And it is through my transformational journey that I am here discussing women and money and finances. I have a platform called Girlfriend Get Your Money Right. And it
Mm-hmm.
was a phrase that I one day said to myself, and it just kind of stuck with me. And every time I would say it to other women in my circle, they'll be like, girl, you are right. So it just kind of stuck, has started to resonate with women. And one of the
Right.
things that you had a guest on here who's actually my transformational coach, Miss Sabrina Jackson Gandy, and you read my accolades, Sandy. I've worked in financial services. I have a finance degree, an MBA. However, my money situation was jacked up. Not just my
Hmm.
money situation, my health situation, my emotional situation, my mind. I was just a crap show. I don't want to use the other word, but just a crap show. And
Yeah.
it was as a result of going through a divorce, coming out of a toxic relationship where I had to start asking the question, how did I end up here? What has transpired? And hence I sought out a transformational coach to start the healing work, to address how did I end up in that situation? What was going on with my life? I was not happy with my life and I wanted to really get the answers of how I
Mm-hmm.
got there. And through doing the transformational work with my transformational coach, with a therapy, with reading, with participating in various retreats for women and healing retreats, I started
Mm-hmm.
to identify what the root causes were for the unhappiness in my life and what resulted in me ending up in a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
As I was
Yeah.
as I was peeling this onion and looking at different areas of my life, it was like, okay, well, let's look at the financial aspect of your life. Although you have all these degrees and you have all the technical knowledge, what's happening? Well, Sandy, I found out that a lot of the wounds and traumas and root causes of what I was dealing with emotionally
Mm-hmm.
were also contributing to the dysfunction financially that was going on in my life.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so happy for platforms like you that get us to start recognizing, doing
Mm-hmm.
the work to heal our hearts, to heal our minds, because that will only get you to start looking at other areas of your life so that you can
Mm-hmm.
have this total transformation of body, mind, spirit, and finances. So
Right.
kudos to you for having this platform. And really, that's how I got here. I honestly, Sandy, I really didn't want to talk about money because I
Mm-hmm.
had been in that industry for so long. And I know money is a very emotional topic for some people.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
do want to do that. But when I saw that there are some things that we need to look at our mindsets, our beliefs, and our past
Mm-hmm.
wounds and traumas, they impact our relationship with money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we need to get to the root of that because all of the information is out there, the budgeting, the getting out of debt, the investments, you name it, all of that knowledge is out there. But until you address your beliefs, your mindset, and your habits and your
Mm-hmm.
patterns, nothing will change. And so that's what
True.
I hope that we can discuss today on
Mhm.
how we can get our money right.
All right. Well, I like it. Let's do it.
Dig
So
in.
I'm interested to know, aside from the work that you do as a financial success coach, what made you go into the financial sector in the first place?
That's a great question. When I was a little girl, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I would be in downtown Milwaukee with my mom, and I would see the tall glass buildings and I would see the ladies in the glass buildings. Most of the time, it was the tellers and the bankers. And I remember at that time saying to my mom, "Mom, I want to do that. I want to work in one of those glass buildings." And so I had that dream as a little girl. And in high school, I had this amazing teacher, Miss Lavelle, who got
Mhm.
me, and she taught a business course. So I took her business course. I took her at the time when we were still doing typing classes. I took that. And then I took accounting courses. And from there, I was able to get an internship after high school to be able to work for a bank. And it was part
Mhm.
of an inroads program. This was a national program that helped to improve the diversity and inclusion in major corporations back in the 1990s. So I joined that program, and ever since then, I've been in the financial services industry.
Wow. So it was a teacher
Yes.
and you wanting
Be in the
to
glass
work
buildings.
in glass building. I love it. It sounds to me though like this is your calling. This is what you were meant to do. And now you have a chance to help other women
Right,
um position themselves,
right.
you know,
Mhm.
especially coming out of a divorce or the end of a long-term relationship or whatever other challenge that they may have been facing in their life, to really have the courage to look at your finances and tell the truth about it.
Mhm.
It's not, and as a financial success coach, you help women do that.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Women as well as entrepreneurs. And
Mhm.
I initially, Sandy, was just going to work with entrepreneurs because that's what I do every day. Work with
Mhm.
entrepreneurs in terms of how to properly set up their businesses, how to get funding. But I
Mhm.
found in my work, both in my professional career and in my private work, coaching work,
Mhm.
is that whatever behaviors and habits you have in your personal life, they
Mhm.
will translate over into your business. And I
Yep.
saw that working with larger corporations and individuals, and you saw what their habits were personally, and it tended
Mhm.
to influence their companies. So I said, wait a minute, I can't just help a person with their business finance and getting funding. I also
Mhm.
have to help them transform their mindset and their beliefs in their personal finances so that those skill sets can translate over into the business.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the whatever personal challenges you're facing
Mhm.
can inform the way you handle money, the way you view money, your relationship with money. Is that what you're saying?
Not just the personal challenges, but it's your beliefs
Mm,
and
mhm,
your mindset about it. So,
mhm,
for example, if you tend to be an overspender in your
mhm,
personal life,
mhm,
you're going to be an overspender in your business. Because
hmm,
one of the things that happened with a lot of business owners during this pandemic, Sandy,
mhm,
a lot of them
mhm.
got all this government money, the PPP
Right.
loans, and all these different programs. Where we had
Mhm,
this illusion that all this money was available, the demand was going to always be there. And a lot of business owners took that money and they
mhm,
either invested it in their business, but some in a lot of things that weren't related to their business. So
mhm,
that money depleted. And then what ended up happening when the demand went down and the market went down, they
mhm,
had depleted all of the money from their business. And so they were
mhm,
struggling. And that's because they had that spending habit of spending money that they had rather than saving that money for a rainy
mhm,
day. But many had this impression that the money was going to always be there. So they started spending it. So the idea is that what it's all about your mindset and your beliefs. And a
mhm,
lot of these beliefs and the mindsets come from when we're younger. Let me give
mhm,
you a prime example of something,
mhm.
just a simple example that happens primarily with our children. I don't know if you grew up with this, but have you ever been at the dinner table and it's like you need to eat all your food and finish all your food?
Yep.
Okay. Now you will
Mhm.
see that that has been done for generations and generations. A
Right.
child is sitting at the table. They are full, Sandy, but we are telling them they need to finish all of that food, right?
Mhm,
Well, we need to look at why were they saying that? Because
mhm,
in a lot of situations there wasn't going to be enough, and that was probably the only meal you were going to have that day. And so not only did they not want you to waste the food, but they
Mhm.
needed to make sure those children were full so that they wouldn't go hungry. So hence they
Mhm.
made them eat all that food. Well, today where there is plenty of food, if a
Mhm.
child, we don't have to give our children these large portions that they can't finish. Give them a portion that they can manage, and you give them little by little rather than giving them all this food and forcing it upon them. So it's
Mhm.
those types of, of behaviors and habits that we were taught. Another example would just be the sayings like money doesn't grow on tree. Uh,
Yeah.
money doesn't buy you happiness. I heard someone say, but it sure rains up there with oxygen. So just these beliefs. And I also recall a time for me, I remember when my parents were younger, we were evicted in an apartment, and I didn't realize what an impact that had on me.
Mm.
So there's just so many things that we experience that eventually influence. And there's a whole study about this now, that there are more and more people that are realizing that budgeting is not the problem.
Mhm.
Savings is not the problem. It's people addressing the root causes of what's affecting how they engage with money, how they manage their money, how they spend their money. So there are other root causes to look at.
Right. I
Mhm.
agree 100%. And we talked about that in your pre-interview, how some of the traumatic experiences that we had in our childhood
Mhm.
can form our relationship with money and the way we view money and
Mhm.
our financial state in our adulthood. So I
Mhm.
absolutely believe that. I do. And I
Right.
talked about it a little bit in a video that I posted the other day, talking about if you are someone who grew up trying to get the attention of your parents,
Mhm.
you wanted their attention, you wanted their affection, you wanted their approval, then you might be someone as an adult
Mhm.
who, like you said, overspends
Mhm.
to make yourself feel better about yourself because you didn't get, or you feel like you didn't get that attention and
Right.
that affection from your parents. So
Mhm.
the things that we go through in our childhood, if it stays unaddressed and it stays unhealed, it will show up in your adult life, in your money, in your relationships, in your career, whatever, you name it, it's going to show up.
It
So
absolutely will. And
yeah.
one of those is if you have a low sense of self-worth,
Hmm.
or if you are a people pleaser.
Hmm.
How is that going to show up in money? If you are a people pleaser or you're looking for validation, you will use your money to buy things, certain things. If I purchase this, if I have this, all this material things, then that is validating who I am. But at the
Hmm.
core of who you are, if you don't feel that you're worthy or you're a valuable person, you're going to continue to spend and
Hmm.
impacting, you're going into debt, going in overspending, doing all these things. But the root issue is that you are trying to get validation. And a lot of
Hmm.
times this is done subconsciously. People are not aware of it. Um,
Hmm.
my part of when I was doing my transformational journey, just understanding, for me, I was trying to buy love.
Hmm.
I tend to make money. I tended to make money all the time, but I was giving. And I was
Hmm.
giving from a place of getting validation. See, so she's really good. Even though inside I had this little girl that just didn't feel like she was worthy by
Hmm.
giving. Oh, well, when I gave, I would get, oh, she's so wonderful. Oh, she's this. But I was putting myself in debt. I was overspending to the detriment of my own financial well-being. And it
Hmm.
wasn't until I started peeling the onion to really understand the relationship that I first had with myself and get
Hmm.
that corrected, then
Hmm.
I could see, okay, once you kind of have a high sense of self-worth, you're going to make decisions that benefit you rather than other people. So that's
Right.
why it's really important to get to do the work, to do the healing work of your heart and your mind and any traumas, so that it's not affect, because you'll be surprised, it'll affect every area of your life. It'll affect how you do business. Are you
Hmm.
even charging a fair price? Are you underpricing yourself? Are you not getting a fair salary at an employer because you don't feel you're worthy. All of those impact how you're relating to money.
Right, right. That resonated so deeply with me when we talked about that because I was one of those kids that was always trying to get my parents' attention.
Okay.
I was a middle child, so I always felt like my older brother got it all. And then here comes my baby brother. He got what was supposed to go to me. So I was the baby for 9 years. And then my mom had my little brother. And so I just never felt like I got the attention that I needed. And it's no shame to my parents, no shade to them. But I think that we have to be willing to really talk honestly about some of the challenges that we faced in our childhood in a way that doesn't blame or shame our parents,
Absolutely.
but allows us to tell the truth about how it made us feel.
Right.
Because you can't heal it until you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
that's the first step is to give yourself permission to acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
some of the traumas or the challenges that you went through as a child. Do you agree?
Yes, I definitely agree. And the
Yeah.
only way that you're going to get that awareness is if you slow down.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I found is that I was a busybody. Part of the way that the people pleasing showed up was I would overextend, not just in money, but in my time and energy, in being overly involved in church, being on every committee, being on different community service boards and serving here and serving there, being available for everyone and being busy, 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 and not tending to my own needs. When you're so busy tending to the needs of other people and not
Mm-hmm.
really giving yourself the time that you need to process what's going on in your mind, what's going on in your heart, you won't really be aware of it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I really encourage women to do. Oh, excuse me, 1 second, Sandy. I got to
Mhm.
plug up my computer
Okay, no problem.
so that it doesn't.
Hopefully she'll be back. I think she will. She might have lost power for a minute, but she'll be back. Let me make sure she's not texting me. Nope. In the meantime, I would love to hear your thoughts on what Felicia and I were just talking about how some of the challenges affect the way we view money, our relationship with money, how we handle money, how we save money, and how we spend money. I would love to hear in the comments what you think about that. And is that true for you? I know it's true for me. And I didn't realize it until I went through my divorce. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize it, but I was spending money just as fast as I was earning money. And you just never get anywhere like that. You're on a hamster wheel. You're trying to catch up every month, every month, every month, trying to catch up. And so um after I went through my or as I was going through my divorce, I knew that I needed to get a handle on my spending. I knew I did. I knew that I needed to find out what my credit score was. I had so much work to do on my finances because I needed to position myself to be able to take care of myself. And Felicia's going to talk about that too. I think she's back.
Okay, sorry about
Yes,
that.
she is. That's okay. It happens.
Yes. I heard you starting to talk about
Mhm.
evaluating your finances after divorce.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
critical time
Hmm.
to get coaching because there's a there with divorce. Not only are you having gone through it, not only are you dealing with the emotional
Hmm.
aspects of it, the just the psychological, the trauma, all of that.
Hmm.
Then there's financial aspect of it. Divorce can be very costly. Even if
Right.
it's not, there's going to be a shift in your household income. And
Right.
one of the things that I would encourage people to do is get coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And
one of the
that's what you do.
right, right. You do not want to be making decisions, financial
Yeah.
decisions during that time because you're going through a lot of other things and how
Mm-hmm.
you're feeling will influence your decisions. Let me give you an example of mine. So while I was married, I wanted a different car, but my
Mm-hmm.
husband at the time, he wanted to get a minivan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the minivan type of person, right? So we got the minivan, even though we only had two kids, but as soon as we got the divorce, that was the vehicle that I had. I was so quick to get rid of that minivan, and
Mm-hmm.
because it was a way of me taking back my power and using the power to choose the kind of
Mm-hmm.
vehicle that I wanted, not what
Mm-hmm.
he wanted us to have. And so I rushed into purchasing a vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
not really taking the time to vet it. And it wasn't really the best decision that I had made. Had I
Right.
kind of taken my time and really gotten more support and coaching and not really made such a rash decision,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have ended up having a different scenario. So that's what I mean about that. It's really important, especially during that transition, that major life transition, to
Mm-hmm.
really, get coaching and support from an
Mm-hmm.
objective person so that
Mm-hmm.
you can make the right financial decisions for yourself. Even they're also, Sandy, I just found this out. They're actually certified divorce financial planners. These,
Mm.
yes, it's a certification that you can get. These are people that will help you in terms of decisions you're making about assets and division of assets and just all the different financial decisions that you're making as you're kind of going through your mediation, your negotiation. I highly encourage people to use that resource because it's really, really important.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you made that purchase out of spite.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. 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 I mean, divorce is it's emotional.
Hmm.
It's you go through the 5 stages of grief,
Right.
and then you get to the point where you say, okay, what am I going to do to make sure that I
Hmm.
have what I need? And if you have small children, that my children have what they need.
Right.
We got to make sure we have a roof over our heads and all of the things that go along with going from a two-parent household to just being with by yourself and possibly raising your children. My
Right.
children were adults when I went through my divorce, so I didn't have that piece of it. But I do think that I stayed in my marriage longer than I would have had I positioned myself to be able to leave sooner. I would have left sooner. I know
Right.
that for a fact.
Well,
So
Sandy,
I that's why I really love the work that you do.
right. One of the reasons why I coined this phrase, girlfriend, let's get your money right, because I was able to get out of a toxic situation because
Mhm,
I had the means. I had the
mhm,
education and I had the position and the salary that allowed me to make some shifts to be able to get an apartment, get an attorney, what I needed to do. But I find so many women who end up are either staying in very toxic situations that are not just dangerous for them
mhm,
emotionally, psychologically, in some cases physically, but also for the children as well.
mhm,
But they stay because financially they just can't afford to be on their own, especially if you're living in a high cost of living community or state like California or the coast of New York, the East Coast,
mhm,
etc.
mhm,
That's why I really want to impress upon women is to get your money right. Even
mhm,
if you have an amazing husband, you need to know what
mhm,
the financial picture of your family looks like. Because I've
mhm,
also seen situations where the husband has always handled everything,
mhm.
amazing husband taking care of everything, and he passes away 50 years
Yeah.
old in his sleep.
Mhm,
Nobody was anticipating that. And the wife she didn't know what to do. I've seen so
mhm,
many cases of this where
mhm,
the wife just let the husbands manage everything, not really knowing, where the investments are. I mean, even in one situation where she didn't know where the bank accounts were. It was just crazy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where the insurance policies were, all of that. So as women, and even I want to impress upon men who are in the audience, even if you are an amazing providing husband, you want
Right.
to make sure that your wife is part
Mm-hmm.
of the decisions about your finances. She knows where things are. You have
Mm-hmm.
things like trusts and wills and all the information that she needs. So just in the event something should happen to you, she knows what to do. And also, even if she's not very well versed in it, there are advisors that would
Mm-hmm.
be able to help her in the event something happens to you. So as women, we cannot afford to leave our financial well-being up to anyone, not even our wonderful, amazing husbands. And
Yeah.
then also, what if you do end up getting a divorce? What I tell women is at least have the skill set,
Mm-hmm.
the education, so that if you had to go work outside the home,
Mm-hmm.
or you can work nowadays, you can work in your home. You can
Mm-hmm.
do that because you have prepared yourself. We're not living in the times where you can just be a woman at home that doesn't have any skill set, a skill
Mm-hmm.
set that you can monetize. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. I mean, of course,
Right.
managing a home takes a certain level of skill, high level of
Mm-hmm.
skill, but
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure that you have a skill set that you can monetize.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you get a new client,
Hmm.
she's coming in, let's say she's coming in fresh out of a divorce. She's still got little children in the home, which is what your story. What
Hmm.
is the first conversation that you have with her as her coach?
The first conversation is when for anyone that's going for divorce, you need support.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A divorce, like you mentioned about going through a grieving process, it's like a death.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of emotions that you have to process. So the first thing that I recommend is getting support in the form of therapy, or even
Mm-hmm.
a group support group. Like I was fortunate enough to not only had already a year prior to the divorce started my work with my transformational life coach. I started that,
Mm-hmm.
but then I also joined a support group. It's
Mm-hmm.
a Christian based support group. And it was really great to be in a room with other people who are experiencing what you're going through, because my married friends could not relate to what I was going through. And
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you experience this, but you know how dynamics change with your relationships, especially if you had common relationships, how those dynamics will kind of change, because people really, they don't want to, they feel like they have to take sides, or so they just kind of distance themselves, and it can
Mm-hmm.
be really lonely. So the first thing is to start to get the support that they need emotionally. Before you can even get to the money part, they need to
Mm-hmm.
get to a place where they're getting support emotionally. And then
Right.
from there, then we can take a look at, okay, well, what is your financial picture look like? And that's
Mm-hmm.
where you want to look at a personal financial statement, where you will list out all of your assets, all of your debts, what you have, so that you can
Mm-hmm.
at least have a picture of what you have going on. And then also I would recommend kind of pull your credit score. Do you have credit? I have
Mm-hmm.
women who I have met, they never established their own credit.
Mm. So they don't have bad
2024,
credit, they just don't have any
they
credit.
don't have any credit. In 2024,
Right. Right.
you still have that. And so
Mm-hmm.
looking at, and then from there, then looking at what their goals are. What are their goals on what they
Mm-hmm.
want to achieve? And of course, they have to talk with their divorce lawyer to see how they're going to negotiate the division of assets depending on where they live. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a very delicate walk when someone is going through a divorce. But the first thing that needs to happen is they need to get the support to be able to process all of the emotions they're going through. And I
Mm-hmm.
typically will recommend that they have a therapist or join some sort of a support group. Once they get that going, once they're working with their attorney, then we can address the financial aspects of it.
Okay.
Hmm.
That makes sense. Yeah, get the emotional healing first because
Right.
that's how you're going to ground yourself.
Yes.
That was my experience anyway. I had to
Hmm.
ground myself because I was all over the place.
Right.
Um, and so I started therapy before my divorce was even final, because I was married for almost 30 years.
Hmm.
So that's a long time,
Hmm.
in a partnership. And
Right.
now, first time in my adult life, I'm
Hmm.
out here by myself, taking care of myself. It was just actually not by myself, it was me and Jesus. Praise God.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I had to learn. There was so much I had to learn about living an independent life that I
Hmm.
didn't know because I got married so young and had my children and went to work.
Hmm.
So I've always worked, but I always had a partner to help out with all of the debts and all of the bills and stuff. So it's
Hmm.
a lot to learn.
Right. Right.
There's
And
someone
it's
that
a
is.
covenant.
Mhm,
A marriage is a covenant. And
mhm,
that's why it's so hard when it's
mhm.
breaking apart.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that you entered into a covenant, and to break it apart. I mean, yours, you were 30 years. Oh my goodness.
Mhm,
I can
mhm,
only imagine the toll on
mhm.
your heart and your spirit to have to
Yeah,
go through that. So
yeah.
it's a lot. It's a
Mhm.
lot. And like you mentioned, that the healing work, you got to go into the healing work right away. Both men and women. This
Mhm.
is girl talk. So I don't know if we have any gentlemen, but the ladies, if you have some gentlemen in your life, encourage
Yeah,
them to also seek support and
yeah.
healing work. That's so important for men to also do that.
Mhm. Now you have a really interesting childhood story because you are of African descent.
Yes.
And what country?
The Democratic Republic of the Congo. It used to be
Okay.
called Zaire.
Okay. And
Mhm.
so how old were you when you came to the US?
I was 10 years old.
10 years old.
Yeah, 10 years old.
So raised in the Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, until you're 10 years old, what kind of was it a culture shock? And how did your parents help you adjust?
This is good. This is good.
Yeah.
So, here's the interesting thing about the culture shock. You
Hmm.
know what the biggest culture shock was?
Hmm.
And people sometimes they kind of look at me sideways when I mention this. Sandy, I didn't know I was black until I landed in America,
Ooh, say more.
because the concept of race
Right.
is not used in an environment where the majority of the people are black. You're not
Ah,
defined by your race.
right. Okay. And here it's the complete opposite.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
that was the biggest culture shock, I would say, that I
Mhm.
had to now, this
Mhm.
little girl at 10 years old,
Mhm.
identify myself based on the color of my skin.
Right. Right.
That was really, really interesting. But the beautiful thing about the beautiful thing about it is that because I had that grounding
Hmm.
of knowing that, this is where I'm from, this is the tribe that I'm from, I'm not
Hmm.
attached to my color.
Mm.
I don't know if you can understand that. So when I
Right.
walk in this world, I am Felicia.
Hmm.
I am this person. I am not, I don't, when I'm in these corporate environments, I'm
Hmm.
not there as a black woman. I'm there as a banker, just like anyone else.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it shifts how I view myself, because
Hmm.
in their mind, they already have their biases, their preconceived notions of what it means to be black. But when I'm
Right.
not attached to that, I'm attached
Hmm.
to the core of who I am.
Hmm.
It's a different ball game.
So are you treated as such?
Oh yeah, I'm still treated as a black woman. Oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
And because I have a different foundation, like, and it's different from my children, because when I look at my children who were
Mm-hmm.
born and raised in America, in kindergarten, they're
Mm-hmm.
already being identified as Black. They're
Right.
already noticing, because they're in predominantly white communities or schools, that the kids, other kids might treat them differently, whereas
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole concept of race is ingrained in America from primary school on up, whereas in other parts of the
Mm-hmm.
world,
Mm-hmm.
it's not there.
Hmm. And what kind of work did your parents do?
Um, my parents, as immigrants, they were too busy just trying to make a living to raise their 6 kids. My
Right.
dad was a graduate student, trying to work on his studies. My parents, they were just really trying to hold on to their values, trying to
Mm-hmm.
hold on to their African values and the beliefs, and just really in trying to ingrain that upon us. And it was hard, and it's an adjustment, because your kids are out here in this world, different set of values, different set of beliefs, and you want them to hold on to what you've been taught and what you know to be
Mm-hmm.
the right way to be. So I would, for them, it was a challenge. It was a
Yeah.
challenge.
I was going to say, what were some of the most important values that your parents instilled in you that you still adhere to today? What would you say?
Respect for elders,
Mm-hmm.
respect for elders and authority. That's something that we have lost today. Even I
Yeah.
know, even in some communities here in the US in the South, you would never call an adult by their first name. It would be
Never.
Miss or Mr., right? But now,
Mm-hmm.
Sandy, a 3-year-old can call me Felicia.
Mm. Not in my world.
Right, right. So just respect for elders, and the
Mm-hmm.
whole concept of honor, in terms of honoring your family and
Mm-hmm.
honoring yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because here in America, it's a very individualistic society. It's all about you, what you want. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're from a community where it's about the community and the benefit of the whole community, not just what you want, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
have a different perspective. So valuing community, valuing honor and respect over me getting what I want, or me living my life and being happy. So
Mm-hmm.
very different beliefs there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about how your faith has informed the way you view money and your relationship with money and the work that you do.
Mhm.
Mhm.
How has my faith influenced that? I I don't know that my faith has really influenced
Mhm.
how I view money.
Mhm.
The one thing that, one of the things that, as I was growing up in the church, etc., I had this idea that, you know, that, and there's a scripture where they said the poor will inherit the
Mhm.
the land, or I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think in a way religion did shape it,
Mhm.
because of the idea that in order to be holy,
Mhm.
you need, in order to, humility and holiness were associated with not being flashing, being humble.
Mm. Mhm.
Those are some of the things, some of the programming that, you
Right.
had, that people who
Right.
maybe had a lot of money weren't as holy. Just the
Right.
programming that many of
Yeah.
us have
Yeah.
had. And so that was also part of the work that I had to shift, in that when you look at, people in the scriptures, a lot of them were wealthy. You
Mhm.
also had women that financed the ministry.
Mhm.
And then also just understanding, the idea that money is really energy.
Mhm.
How we look at money, it's a seed. It's a seed that you can sow,
Right.
and it can come back to you. So
Mhm.
really, just really shifting how I looked at money, from the sense of, being holy doesn't mean that you're poor. That, and understanding the scripture when it says, that the love of money, because a lot of times we would take out the love, we would take that money is the
Right.
root of all evil, and
Yeah.
not understanding that it's the love that anytime you put anything above God,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
the sin, if you want to call it. But
Mhm.
money is really a resource and a tool that can
Mhm.
be used for those who want to really just benefit the kingdom. You can use it for the kingdom in that way.
Mhm. Right. Right. Yeah. There's a scripture that says, "Money answereth all things."
Hmm.
It's really hard to do ministry, to do kingdom work
Right. Without it.
without
Right.
when when you have a poverty mindset, you all you think about is living from hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck, paycheck to
Mhm.
paycheck. But I do not believe that is God's best for me. I
Mm-mm.
don't believe that I was created to live that way. I
Mm-mm.
believe that there's nothing abundant about that. That's not abundant living. And God promised us an abundant life.
Mhm.
And part of abundance is money. I know people don't like to talk
Right.
about it. It
Right.
is.
Yeah.
And so, if you intend to live a life where you are able to sow into the lives of others, you have
Hmm.
a responsibility to make sure that your finances are in order so that you can do that.
And we're
That's what,
called to be good stewards, right? We're
yes,
called to be good
yes.
stewards. And the thing of it is, one of the things that I've realized, Sandy, there's a cost to poverty.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
There's a cost to
mm-hmm,
poverty.
mm-hmm,
You know, there's a cost in terms of the emotion. You have this spirit of lack in you. There's a limitation in terms of resources, the things
mm-hmm,
that you can have or do. There's a
mm-hmm.
cost to it, so it's not a good thing. So one of the things that we can do is try to help ourselves get out of it, but help yourself first. That's what I had to learn, Sandy. Help
Right.
myself first
Me too.
before I can
Mhm.
help other people.
Yeah.
I
It's
was
like
doing
the
it boy.
instructions they give you on the plane. Put the
Hmm.
oxygen mask on you first. Otherwise,
Right.
you're gonna fall out. You're gonna pass out. You ain't gonna be able to help nobody. You
Exactly.
get your air
Exactly.
first, and then you can help somebody else get their air. Yeah,
Right.
that makes complete
Especially
sense.
in our community where sometimes, especially in business, we will choose to say, well, I just want to serve the community. I want to do my business in the community and serve the
Mhm.
community. I'm like, money has no color.
Right.
You other communities don't think like that, Sandy.
Nope,
Other
they don't.
communities come into the Black community, they make their money to help
Mhm.
their other communities. But we're like,
Right.
it's like, go get the money wherever it's going to come from so that
Right.
you can help your community. So we
Mhm. Yeah.
really need to change. Some of us need to change how we're thinking, about
Yeah.
that. Go make the money wherever and then use the money to help the community.
Where do you think that conditioning comes from? Where does it? What's the origin of that conditioning? Would you say?
I mean, some of it is just our comfort level.
Hmm.
This is where we feel comfortable.
Hmm.
Um, some of it could be our willingness not to be with other cultures because, again, we just want to be with those who look and are like us. Whereas
Hmm.
other people, and it's so interesting, other nationalities have no problem taking advantage of our resources as Black people.
True.
No, all over the world. They have no problem going into Africa, going
Hmm.
into wherever, looting not just the people, the natural resources, whatever they can get to monetize, they will
Hmm.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it could also be that we're just not those types of people. We don't like to take, we're just not made that way to take advantage of other people.
Right. But we do ourselves a disservice
Hmm.
when we think that we're only worth a little piece of something.
Right.
That speaks to how we see ourselves and how we measure our worth and our value.
Hmm.
That's what that's about to me. If you can begin to see yourself the way God sees you, you will know that you are worthy of all of the abundance that He
Exactly.
promises
Right.
in His word.
Hmm.
He came that we might have life and life more abundantly. There's nothing abundant about poverty.
Right.
And you don't have to take a vow of poverty to be a Christian.
Hmm. Right.
Those two don't have to go together.
They don't.
So, um, and it's important too not to attach your worth to material things. We know that too. But
Right.
it's also important for you to do the healing work that you need to do so that you can take the shame off of having wealth, wanting
Hmm.
to be wealthy. There's a lot of shame attached to that for some
Hmm.
people.
For
And
some.
it takes, yeah, sometimes it takes some therapy for you to work through that issue.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because a lot of people struggle with survivor's remorse.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times in our communities, you might be the one that made it in the family. You might be the one that got the higher education. You either became the attorney or the medical professional. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there can be judgment,
Mm-hmm.
the you think you all that, or you feel like you have to help everyone else around you, so you start depleting your resources. I mean, we see this classic case in many entertainers and athletes who end up going bankrupt because they were
Yeah.
trying to help everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's
So
true.
even when you make a lot of money, you need a financial coach to
You really do.
do your
You do.
healing.
And
Right,
you're
you need
right.
to
We
do
see
your healing work.
I'm not, yeah, okay. Yeah, we see it in professional sports all the time. These young kids, 20, 21, 22,
Right.
going into the NBA or the NFL or whatever the professional sports arena is. And, if you came from a life of poverty and now you have millions, you're bringing your poverty mindset into this new life that you have. And so,
Right.
some way, somehow, if you don't get some kind of financial coaching,
Hmm.
you're going to sabotage your
Right.
new way of life because you're going to feel like you're not worthy to have this new way of life.
Hmm.
And so I agree with you 100%. Having that financial coach by your side to walk you through the steps of how to set yourself up so that when you retire, you need somebody that can look down the road with you at your
Right.
future and
Hmm.
say, this is how much you need when you're no longer able to play basketball or football or baseball or whatever it is. This is what you're going to need to live the rest of your life in comfort. You need a coach to help you do that. I think so.
Absolutely. Even the women who are married to these athletes.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, sister girl, you have all the resources in the world to
Mhm.
launch a business.
Right.
Get a
Yeah.
skill set. And don't just get in this relationship with all this money, because it's not going to always be there.
Hmm.
And make something out of it. Build off of it. Don't go there and just start, purchasing material things. Build something out of it, because like you mentioned, you never know what's going to happen with that
Right.
career. It could end in an injury within a year. Then
Hmm.
what?
Right. Do you ever talk to your clients about taking their natural gifts and monetizing their gifts? Do you ever talk to them
Absolutely.
about that?
Absolutely. That's the best way to, because one of the things
Hmm.
when you're looking at the setting up a structure for yourself financially, one of the things that many wealthy people have, they have multiple streams of income, right?
Right.
That's classic. And every wealthy person's financial profile I've looked at, they
Hmm.
have more than one way they make the money. So
Right.
you can have an education or a skill set, but also one of the things that scripture says that he will bless the work of your hands. What's in your
Hmm.
hand? What
Yeah.
information, resource do you already have that you
Hmm.
can monetize?
Yeah. In the work that I do as a case manager, and I was telling you this earlier, I work with families who are applying for benefits with the state for whatever reason. Maybe there was a job loss, maybe there was a death in the family, maybe it's a newly divorced mother who's never worked before because they were a stay-at-home mom, and now they're having to come to the state to get some help so they can get on their feet. And my job is to help them connect with employment. Excuse me. And so, one of the things that I tell my clients when I'm working with them is to think about something that you do really well already.
Mm-hmm.
How, if you can add a credential to that,
Right.
you can monetize that. Just
Mm-hmm.
start with the basic thing that you already do really well. You love to do it, you do it now, even though you're not being paid, but it would be really great if you could get paid to do it. So
Right.
that's the kind of conversation that I have with my clients. I think that sometimes we make things harder than they have to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you can start with something that you already do well, just because you're gifted in it, add a
Right.
credential to it and
Mm-hmm.
start a business or make a career out of it. That's always my advice to my clients.
That's awesome.
Most
And
people
I
don't know
think
what they're good at either. They had
they
never even.
don't. They don't. And I think this is one of the things that's unique
Mm-hmm.
about other cultures is that respect and that
Mm-hmm.
yearning for wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to go to someone who's wiser than you and getting that counsel and that wisdom, and someone that can see farther than you and say, hey, you know what, I think you seem to be really great at this. Why don't you kind of explore that route? So that's something that I think that a lot of times our young people or even our adults today don't
Yeah.
really value,
Mm-hmm.
working with a coach or getting advice from someone else. I remember I had a family member that felt like this was back in the days when the real estate market was crashing, and they went and purchased a very questionable property. And they were like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I know what to do. I'm like, dude, presidents have a whole table full of advisors. A
Yeah.
president of a country has
Yeah.
advisors, right?
Yeah.
Why do you
Mm-hmm.
think having advisors and a coach or etc. does not mean that you're not intelligent or you're not smart?
Mm-hmm.
The Bible says that where there's a multitude of counsel,
Mm-hmm.
wisdom is there.
Right.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
just really important, and I'm glad that you kind of tell that to your clients, because we
Mm-hmm.
need more people, and
Mm-hmm.
each and every one of us need to be open to wisdom and counsel from those who are more knowledgeable or
Right.
who we admire, who are
Right.
people who we would trade places with, because you can't get wisdom from everyone.
Exactly. Exactly. Well,
Right.
this was a great conversation. I want to make sure that I put your
I think I
website up
gave you my link. Yes, yes,
there
yes.
so people know how to get in touch with you for coaching. I think that that's a really great first step
Hmm.
to beginning to build the life that you've envisioned for yourself, is to have somebody who can be like your guiding light
Hmm.
to help you there. It's
Right.
so important to have that kind of support system to help you build that foundation and just add more to it and add more to it and add more to it, because you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely. And I did that as part of my transformational work. One of the
Hmm.
work that I did was working with a money coach.
Hmm.
Working with a money coach. And that's where I uncovered
Hmm.
how my past wounds and traumas were impacting my money decisions. So
Hmm.
I continuously, although I'm working with people, I'm investing in my own coaching and just
Hmm.
trying to make sure that I stay on top of my own financial well being so that I can be able to help other people. So even if you're a coach, you also need to be coached.
That's right. I also wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
what are you doing to teach your children about
Okay.
finance? Yeah.
That's a great question. One of
Yeah.
the things I realized with my children was that I needed to get them engaged with money early on.
Hmm.
There's a period of time where I found myself going to the stores and I had all the money and they would want things. And I'm like, Mommy, can I have this? Mommy, can I have this? Because I have two little girls. No, no,
Hmm.
no, no, no. And then I said, what am I teaching them by
Hmm.
always saying no? What am I instilling in them? I'm making them feel powerless. I'm
Hmm.
perpetuating that spirit of lack. So I said, you
Hmm.
know what? Moving forward, I made a decision. I said, I'm going to start giving them money just for being a citizen of the house, not tying it to a chore or whatever. They get
Hmm.
an allowance every time I get paid. They get an allowance, and what
Hmm.
happens is they started saving their money. And when we would go to the
Hmm.
store, Sandy, they would have
Hmm.
their own money. Guess what
Hmm.
started happening? Mommy, I want to get this doll. Can you get this for me? I'm like, well, honey, you have your own money. And they
Hmm.
would say, well, how much is that? They would look at their money. Even if they
Hmm.
had enough money, they didn't want to spend it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really been fascinating to see them, and I'm already starting to see certain characteristics where one is a
Mhm.
saver. She
Mhm.
likes to save her money, and she likes to make goals. Well, I want to save my money so that I can get some pink Converses.
Mhm.
So what I'm teaching them now is I'm empowering them with the ability to make decisions with their money,
Mhm.
instilling naturally the idea of saving and also planning for their purchases. So those are the
Right.
things that I'm doing with them, in terms of instilling that money. So they're used to dealing with money. So they're not
Mhm.
growing up with this lack. Many of us weren't handling money until probably till we were in our teen years or even in
Mhm.
college. Some people
Yeah.
until they get like a full-time job as an adult. But
Mhm.
we need to start that financial literacy very, very early on. And
Mhm.
and if you have it, even if it's $2,
Mhm.
start teaching them to save their little money in their shoebox or something like
Mhm.
that, so that they can feel empowered to make the
Yeah.
decision. Now it's not me telling them no, it's they're making that conscious decision themselves.
Yeah. I love that. My daughter and her husband do the same thing with my granddaughters. And my oldest granddaughter, she's really great at saving money. She has a wallet full of money. The
Mhm.
younger one, she likes to buy stuff.
Yeah.
So then the older one will have the younger one borrowing money from
Right.
her when they get to the store so she can buy what she wants. And I'm just looking at the older one like, "Uh, this kind of looks loan sharkish. You have to add a little interest to it." And yeah, so I'm so glad that my daughter and my son-in-law, they do the same thing. They want to make sure that their children have a healthy relationship with money, that they're not
Right.
afraid to spend money, but they're also not afraid to save money. And
Right.
they also understand the importance of saving their money. You don't have to buy everything you see
Everything.
just
Right.
because you have the money to buy it. You need
Mhm.
to learn that early.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's important. Every parent, even if it's just a quarter, just get them
Hmm.
used to handling money, touching it, feeling it, counting it. My One of my daughters, she keeps track of her money. You know,
Hmm.
she has a
Hmm.
little piece of paper where she keeps track of how much she gets, how much she spends. So they're just learning all these different skills.
Yeah, that's so important. That's really, really important. Well, this was a great conversation. I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you. If they feel like they need some coaching or they just want to talk to you about what you do and how you might be able to help them, you can go
Absolutely.
to Felicia's website at girlfriendgetyourmoneyright.com. Do you want
Yeah.
to say anything else before we close out tonight?
No, I think we've had a great conversation here.
Yeah.
Connect with me on my page. I also have a Facebook group called Girlfriend
Mhm.
Get Your Money Right. So, but you will get to that when you go to the website. So, yes, connect. We have lots of great resources there. We actually have one of our members who's doing a free real estate investment class. So, just
Mhm.
lots of really great
Ooh.
resources to help women.
Nice. So we
Mhm.
do have a few comments in the chat that I want to acknowledge.
Okay.
Uh, Ritza White is in the chat.
Okay. Hey.
She said, "You're speaking truth, Coach Felicia. Felicia B. So much of what you're saying resonates with me. Thank you."
Oh, that's
And Charmaine Andrews, yes, so true. Divorce is actually worse than death because it is a choice, and with death, there is with
no
death there
choice.
is no, yeah, there is no, I think she meant there is no choice.
Mhm.
Yeah, it really is, especially when it's a situation where the divorce can't be avoided. It's just something that you have to do because you're no longer healthy together. It
Mhm.
is. It's like a
And that
death.
person is still alive.
Right, that too. And you have to treat it like a death. You have to treat it
Yeah.
like you're going through a death,
Mhm.
and allow yourself time to grieve. And
Right.
don't let anybody tell you how to grieve or how long to grieve. You
Mhm.
know, personal. It's personal. You gotta make sure that you feel empowered to take the time that you need to be introspective and
Mhm.
heal. before you go out and start dating or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. So take as much time as you need, not in a way that makes you feel stuck or stagnant, but in a way that honors the hurt that you feel. You want to honor that. It's important. Yeah. Be prayerful. If you need to go to therapy, child, go to therapy.
Yes. Yes.
Just go. Go.
Go.
Yes.
I did everything. You
Me
name it,
too.
I did it.
I did too. I did too. And still go once a month. You know, it's my tune-up. It's my once a month tune-up.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with that. Don't be ashamed of that.
Not
Go
at
ahead
all.
and get
It's so necessary. I mean, but the good thing is the increased awareness about mental
Mhm.
health. You know, just
Mhm.
these days we're encouraging more and more people. We're not finally society is acknowledging that mental health is real and
Mhm.
encouraging people to get the help that they need. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that that's part of the resources that and the services you provide, that you talk about making sure that
oh yeah.
whatever you get your mental health right, you need to go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Glad that's part of what you do. That is so very important.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. I'm so happy, first of all, to have met you.
Me
You and I
too.
have,
So
yes,
glad Sabrina, you were on her show and that way we
I
connected.
know. We have Jabrina Jackson Gandy in common.
Yes.
Yes, I love me some Sabrina, honey. You can't tell me nothing about Sabrina. Sabrina is coming back to Girl Talk. She's coming to
Trust
Girl Talk
me.
Sunday.
I worked with
Yeah.
that woman for the past, it's going on 5 years. So
hmm
I
Yeah,
know.
she'll be back on the show. She's doing
Yeah.
a part two, and we're going to dive even deeper into relationships and preparing yourself
Mhm.
to get out there and date, or if you're married, doing whatever it needs, whatever you need to do to keep the fire lit in your marriage, whatever your situation is. Sabrina
Right.
has it covered. I can't wait for her to come
Right.
back, and I
And
hope
the
that you can come back too.
and the one thing that about that, ladies, let's
Mhm.
get the money and the sex out of the way for both men and women. Let's
Right.
get the money, ladies. You get your money right, and
hmm
fellas, I don't know, but let's get the money out of the way.
Yes.
Things that are keeping us from having meaningful
hmm
relationships, money and
Yeah.
sex, so that we can focus on what's important. Because I don't know, last year and Debrina talks about this, how just women were making foolish decisions in terms of judging a man,
Mhm.
based on what he spends on you on a first date, where he takes you, all of this nonsense. And that's part
Nonsense.
of why I started my girlfriend, get your money right. You get
hmm
your money right and stop
hmm
using that as a criteria that where he takes you on the first date. For goodness sakes, the first date. So that's gonna be a whole nother conversation.
Yes, and I'm sure when Debrina comes back, we'll be talking about that and more.
Yes, yes.
Well,
Talk
have a
about
lovely
that.
evening. Thank you so much. Again, if you need to get in contact with Felicia, you can always reach her at girlfriendgetyourmoneyright.com. Get over there. Do you do a consultation?
Yes, yes. I usually
What's the
do a
price?
free 15
Okay.
minute consultation
Mhm.
and just to kind of see what their goals are. And then from there, we can talk about some other ways to work with me.
Awesome. Get over there and get your free consultation. I think sometimes we don't know what we need until we run into it.
Yeah,
And then we're like, ooh, I
right.
needed this like 10 years ago.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I will see you soon. Hopefully, you'll be able to come back and visit with us again.
Would love to. Would absolutely love to.
Thank you, Felicia. You have a great night.
You too.
All right, everybody. That is our show. Again, if you would like to have your free 15-minute consultation with Felicia, you can reach her at girlfriendgetyourmoneyright.com. I cannot stress enough how important it is to position yourself to be able to answer whatever need arises in your life. It doesn't matter what it is. You need to be able to answer that need. And money can help you doing that. Knowing how to not just earn money, but keep the money that you earn is really important. Earning money is great, but if you don't keep any of it, then what are you doing? So I think Felicia can help you get on the right track, and get started with the work that you need to do to start to build an emergency fund, to start to build a retirement nest egg. Maybe you want to go into investing. You're not really sure what to do or how to do it. Felicia can help you with that as well. So she is a wealth of knowledge. Her finance degree coupled with her MBA make her an expert in her field. And so you want to utilize her in whatever way that you need, so that as you age, you don't have to worry so much about not having enough when retirement comes. I have a lot of coworkers who retired from the state and ended up having to come back because they didn't have the money that they needed to pay for medical. And so they had to come back to work just to have adequate medical care. So that's a real crisis. That's a real situation that people are facing right now. But we have a responsibility. We owe it to ourselves and we owe it to our families to do whatever we need to do to position ourselves to take care of ourselves. And so I think what Felicia has to offer can help you make the first smart step towards being financially independent. That's what I want for myself. And that's what I'm working towards as a woman who takes care of herself. So thank you for joining me tonight on Girl Talk After Dark. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for talking with us. I love it when the chat is interactive. That makes me happy. And hopefully I will be back on Facebook within a day or so. We'll see. If not, we're going to make it do what it do regardless. So I want to say to you, good night and God bless. Love you all.